All right.
All right. So I'm calling the Conservation Commission meeting to order for the city of Torrington. We have present Tom Kalinowski, Dan McGinnis, Michael Koenig, staff member Jeremy Leifert, and myself, Christine Altman. First order of business is approval of the November 18th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, new business. Discussion with residents on solar project off Wimbledon Gate, North Highland Avenue and Rossi Road in Torrington and Litchfield.
Okay, so I sent the memo out this afternoon, the draft memo that's taken me about, well, I'll just say months to put together. So hopefully everybody's at least had time to brush it over. And what I did was we have our checklist of review items for when we would go through any sort of application that has like a conservation easement on it or open space. So I approached it from that way in reviewing this project too, just using that same approach. So I don't know how you want me to go about it. If you want me to read it in, or if you want me to, or if you want to just go through it piece by piece.
Why don't we go through it piece by piece? Did everybody get a chance to look it over?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, then maybe we don't. I mean, are we doing that for the benefit of the commission or the benefit of others?
I think we can do both at once. I mean, maybe
Okay.
I can just read it. I can just read a section in and we can discuss it and then move through.
All right, why don't we do that?
Yeah, let me get my, okay. So the first thing I did was just, I kind of did I did a heading. I'll just read it in. The Torrington Conservation Commission has reviewed the application materials submitted to Connecticut Siting Council under petition number 1442. The purpose of the petition is for the development, construction, and operation of a proposed 19.8 megawatt solar photovoltaic facility over approximately 80 acres of the above referenced properties. The size and scope of the project requires that review of the project. Oh, I can see that already. The review of the project fall under the jurisdiction of the Connecticut Siting Council and other state agencies, including the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, State Historic Preservation Office, the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, among others. The city of Torrington may submit comments on the application where they deem appropriate, but has no jurisdiction to approve or deny the development project. One of the permitted but not required functions of municipal conservation commissions, as outlined in section 7-131A of Connecticut General Statutes, is for the development, conservation, supervision, and regulation of natural resources, including water resources within its territorial limits. The commission has reviewed all documentation submitted to the Siting Council for the project. And then I underline this. The commission is aware that these comments are submitted after the Siting Council's final approval rendered September 27, 2021, but would like comments placed in the record for monitoring and inspection purposes to ensure the site is developed and maintained in accordance with the approvals. In acting under the authority of the above statute, the commission makes the following comments and recommendations for the above referenced application. And then I go into my bullet points. But that's just, it's sort of a title heading. I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions on the heading paragraph. That's more of just a cover. It kind of covers the scope of what our role is, really. And I figure for purposes, we can go through sort of commission, maybe some commission questions, and then anybody else that's on after that, kind of back and forth, if that works for you.
Works for me.
Okay.
I have no questions on the header section.
None for me as well.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. So, yeah. So I hate to do this, but it won't pick it up on there. Even if you wanted to move it, Yeah, I'm talking about the microphone. Even if you wanted to move it where it works best for you.
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do I have to say my name or anything?
Well, it's not a hearing, but yeah, you probably should.
All right, my name is Erin McKenna. I'm actually a resident of Litchfield, but I came in here with concerns over the site. I live within a mile of the site in Litchfield. So I kind of started this dialogue with Jeremy a few months ago over the summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, now that the siting council has formally approved it and they have to get their stormwater permit through DEEP. For the memo that you're providing, I guess, what do you want the ultimate goal to be? Just because I think that may drive some of my comments about it, but I guess what's at this point, I know what my goal would be, but for the Conservation Commission, what would your goal be?
So Christine, you okay if I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we obviously have no control on how they issue or don't issue those permits, but I think my major concern as a staff person, and I'm sure it's the same concern of the commission members, is that they follow the approvals that are granted 100%.
Okay.
DEEP does not have as you probably well know, DEEP does not have the resources to do probably the number of inspections they need to do. So I'm going to do those periodically.
Okay.
And if we see something that's not, you'll see these, you've read the list of bullets, that's not taking care of our concerns or even their approvals, which we'll get copies of, then I'm going to make sure they know about that.
Okay.
So I think that is probably extent that we can really be engaged, but having DEEP or whoever else is going to be Army Corps or whoever else is going to issue permits for this, knowing that there's any issues, I think is going to be our major concern.
Okay. Yeah, because so my original concerns is with both towns, Litchfield and Torrington, is it seemed like it was getting kicked back to the state. Mm-hmm. And then when I would talk to the siting council, they would say, well, we need comments from the towns. And it was like this back and forth. So I want to make sure that any comments and concerns are actually put, on notice to the state and that they are followed through.
And whatever final form this memorandum takes, I'm going to submit it to all these. Siting council may not accept it at this point, but it'll go to DEEP, Department of Ag, whoever else is listed in the documents.
And just one update, I'm not sure if you've been on the siting council website, but this may just be good information before we review any more of this. The developer has put in their D&M plan, their phase 1 of their D&M
I saw
plan.
they were submitted. I haven't read them yet.
Yeah. So they want to start clearing so that they can clear by the end of, they say by the end of April because of bat habitats. Yeah.
And to be honest, frozen ground is the best time for them to clear. I'd rather not have them do it in the spring.
Yeah. My concern is that they're asking siting council to approve their phase 1 of the D&M plan before DEEP has fully weighed in on any of the stormwater issues. So that's just, I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Yep.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak?
Christine, about anything in here?
Well, in that front, I'm just wondering if we can move to the next section.
Oh, okay, fine.
Well, all set?
Yeah.
Okay. So generally in our review checklist, we first do project history and characteristics. I didn't exactly keep that like the headers, but I tried to make it make sense. So I started with our first bullet point, were conservation easements and open space. The commission and staff has conducted a review of city parcels. I should say in the area, not on the area, in the area, and has noted that the proposed property directly abuts approximately 14 acres of dedicated city-owned open space. At minimum, the project should be designed to aid in the protection of these open space parcels by buffering or other acceptable means of protecting the adjacent open space and recreational opportunities. I don't know that there's that much more we can say about our conservation easements and open, well, there's no easements, but there's open space, dedicated open space there. I don't think for that one, I don't know that we can go in much more detail. That's just having to do with our own open space.
So why don't we move to the next section?
All right, we could always we'll just maybe take collective comments after I go. Why don't I go through like a few at a time, and then we can maybe like the first few, and then we can stop.
Okay.
Scenic views and ridge lines in both Torrington and in both the Torrington and Litchfield sections of the project. Scenic views of open spaces and agricultural landscapes will be negatively affected by the construction activities of this project. The project should be designed to minimize disruptions to scenic views from nearby town streets by shielding, screening, or other acceptable means. Again, it's not a whole lot more we can say about scenic views. They're obviously going to be affected and disrupted by the project. So number 3 is review of historic resources. The Conservation Commission recommends that a full review of any historic property features or structures be conducted and mitigated at any project within the city of Torrington. The applicant hired the Public Archaeology Laboratory of Pawcatuck, Rhode Island to conduct a survey of historic resources. A document entitled Phase 1 Reconnaissance Archaeological Survey Litchfield Solar Project, dated October 2020, was produced and submitted for the project, as well as communication with the State Historic Preservation Office. The commission concurs with the conclusions and recommendations contained in pages 31 to 47 of the report. And I read that months ago, so I don't even remember what it says. I'm being completely honest. But they had a whole 15 pages of conclusions that I read through. So, if the commission or anyone else hasn't read those sections, I guess we can do that between the next couple of meetings.
Mhm.
Again, there is an attached report in the for the record through the Siting Council, and it's pages 31 to 47 of the SHPO report.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to pause there and see if anybody's got anything.
That sounds like a good idea.
Because I have 9 bullets, so I figured maybe we could do it in thirds.
Okay.
So we got conservation easements, scenic views, and historic resources.
Is there a specific buffer amount that you had in mind, like 0.1?
No, not really. I was just really thinking of, if you're passing down the roads, that you're not solely staring at panels. Maybe I know the entire property is not going to be covered in solar panels, so maybe we can screen and do like some aesthetic screening, green backdrops or something. So if you're, say, driving up Town Farm Road, it doesn't look like there's a bunch of solar panels sitting in the middle of the field. Something to preserve the overall scenic views of the property. That was kind of the thought in my mind.
Okay.
It doesn't look like anything like that was proposed, with the exception of security screening. So maybe we can work with them to get them to do some sort of a aesthetic screening.
Yeah, or maybe specifically include that in this paragraph so that they have some specificity for the request.
You could have them do larger setbacks as well.
I don't know if we can do anything bulk wise since it's already been, the locations have already been approved.
Yeah, then they can still do plantings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's what I mean. Like plantings, Yeah.
Arborvitae 8 feet high, put off center.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm talking about like natural colors or screening, and I'm specifically thinking of Town Farm Road because the views are gorgeous up there and they're going to be very affected.
Yeah.
Not that that's in Torrington, but it's just,
still.
Yeah, just, it won't pick it up. Otherwise it'd be fine, but it won't pick it up on the recording.
So one of my concerns with like screening would be just given the topography of the area, it's going to be hard to screen it just because I live off of Town Farm Road. So I'm up higher than a lot of the area. So you're coming down and screening would help. I'm not sure. I don't think they really have anything planned, especially like on the parcel that's in the corner of Rossi and Town Farm.
I think it's just security screening.
I think it's just a chain link fence. Yeah.
So I think they'd probably be willing to work with us on something. Maybe, you know.
Chain link fence is about as ugly as you.
That's what I'm saying. Right. And I, you know, I think they want to be good to the community just from my conversations with them. So I think if we asked for something like that, it may not work for somebody up higher, but.
Yeah, but I mean, just driving by there every day.
That's what I'm thinking is just driving on the road. Yeah. I mean, you know, candidly, I run there all the time, so I want to.
Yeah, Steve Ivane, Torrington resident. So I've been in that corner of Torrington my whole life.
Yeah.
If you could look at the layout of where they're putting the solar panels, where the houses are, they're basically proposing a sea of solar panels around houses. Both on the Litchfield and Torrington side. So I'm not sure how you can avoid that viewpoint because they're looking at rolling hills now and you won't have that afterwards.
So the peaks of those hills is going to be hard, but
very, very difficult.
Yeah.
The next problem is that we have wetland issues that go back to the 1980s and that those nearby properties. And I believe a recent Army Corps of Engineers memo was addressing that, and there's still outstanding remedies that should have happened.
I did see a copy of that, yeah.
To the former developer or the current owner of one of those properties. So I think we do have concerns over wetlands in that should be corrected with regards to the Gulf Stream.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm just writing a few notes here. Okay.
Is there anyone else who wanted to speak on the first 3 points, or should we move on?
I'm good.
All right. Okay. So I did write these. So the one question I have is, you said there were past wetland issues. I didn't see anything in our files. Do you know, were they on that particular property? Were those through Army Corps, dealt with by Army Corps or somebody else?
Yes, I think they were quoting a $50,000 a day fine, and it was somehow put on hold.
So I think that
they were going to be addressed, but I don't believe they were addressed.
I think that property is the part of the Greenbrier property. I don't think it's part of this developed property. I'll look into it, but I think that's for Greenbrier.
If you could look into that, because the nearby development was going back and forth for a decade on some of those issues.
I'll make sure. I'll double check.
So it's just a concern in terms of those wetlands.
So I just want to make sure to do my due diligence and pull out and get all that information, because I didn't see anything on those parcels on the Torrington side in our files. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we have another expert that would could probably pinpoint exactly what they're for you. She's a local resident. That's
if she can send me anything related to this property that I could have for us, that'd be great. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. Or these properties, it's 5 parcels or something. So yeah. Okay. All right, so I'll move on.
Sure.
All right, so number 4 is stormwater management and erosion and sediment control. I know this is a big one. A report filed by HDR Inc., Boston, Mass. On behalf of the applicant was submitted to address stormwater management as well as erosion and sediment controls on the site. The Conservation Commission is primarily concerned with the potential impacts from the project on nearby wetlands and vernal pools on the site, estimated at approximately 26 acres in total, as well as potential effects on nearby Gulf Stream. The submitted report contains design elements and analysis that address both stormwater management and erosion controls. Connecticut Deep should ensure that regular monitoring of the erosion controls, make sure I'm not, regular monitoring of the erosion controls and stormwater management systems are operating as intended on the site through regular inspections and monitoring reports under the general stormwater permit for the site. One area of concern that should be reviewed closely are the slopes near the wetlands and watercourses shown on sheet 2 of the erosion and sediment control plan, sheet C-0504 in the report. The Torrington Conservation Commission, while concerned about impacts to wetlands, watercourses, and vernal pools, does not have the expertise to comment on stormwater design, but asks that special attention be placed on the review of stormwater design in close proximity to these features. The Commission recommends that the areas near inland wetlands, watercourses, and vernal pools are avoided, and that the area between separate vernal pools on site are connected, and I put undeveloped in parentheses, to the greatest extent possible. All proposed cuts and fills on the property should be sloped not to exceed 15% grade, or directly addressed by the applicant as to why it is not feasible in specific areas. The applicant should directly address methods of stormwater control at or near these steep slope areas. Low impact development practices should be utilized to the maximum extent wherever feasible in developing and maintaining this project. So number 5 is natural diversity database records. There are records of endangered, threatened, and special concern species on and near the site through the latest NDDB maps for Torrington, published in June 2021. A report on these records was conducted by REMA Ecological Services LLC and submitted on January 31st, 2021, specifically section 7.0 of the report. These include bird species, the Vesper sparrow, 2 bat species, the red bat and the hoary bat, a turtle species, the wood turtle, and a plant species, the pale green orchid. While we agree with the majority of the report regarding listed species, we disagree with the recommendation on breeding birds. The report states, due to an ecological sink with unsuccessful nests for the listed bobolink and savanna sparrow, the solar installation would benefit those species by forcing them to nest elsewhere. We respectfully disagree and advise against any type of critical habitat loss for these species. Instead, we would recommend, in the case of the potential breeding birds, in adjusting the haying schedule to coordinate with the successful breeding season for these species. Number 6, special habitat invasive plants. The property contains a large contiguous area of hayfields, grasslands, and shrublands and young forests. Many species of wildlife are dependent on these habitats, known as early successional habitat, which have been steadily shrinking in the state of Connecticut in recent years. The Commission recommends the preservation of all of these early successional habitats wherever possible, including areas identified for solar development in this proposal. There are large areas of invasive plants on the property, particularly on the periphery of the fields and in the shrubby areas. The Commission would welcome control and removal of these invasive plants in potential areas for solar development and subsequent methods to encourage native growth. The Commission also recommends a minimum 25-foot undeveloped riparian buffer from all wetlands, watercourses, wetlands, and vernal pools on the property. The project design has built into the plans a minimum 25-foot buffer per recommendations of DEEP. So that's those 3 sections.
In my opinion, the key thing is they're on the sediment erosion control. If they don't inspect it regularly, get it. It's, you know, that has to be inspected almost on a weekly basis.
So usually for those plans, they assign a private inspector. DEEP cannot do it. They don't have the staff for it, but they usually require that they assign a private inspector to go out and do regular inspections.
Could the city make an agreement with DEP to do that? I mean, that to me would be the best way to do it because you need.
Just trying to think of staff time, but yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, you know, you obviously DEP would pay the city to do it.
Yeah. I can ask the question. Yeah.
Because I mean, unless you inspect it, those things will be put in once and then 2 months later, they'll be, you won't even be able to find.
Yeah, it'd be the same that I do for any other.
Yeah.
Any other erosion control inspection, which I do for every project in town.
Yeah.
Every active project in town.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, that's key because otherwise, forget it. It's going to be a mess.
And so
Yeah.
to piggyback off of Dan's point, if they're going to be securing this site, what kind of access are we going to be granted to that?
Oh, you can get in there anyway. You're gonna be able to walk on there. But the other point, it seems like a 15% slope. That's pretty steep.
Can it?
That's
within
the
25. You're within 25 feet. You got 25. You got a 15% slope, and your 25-foot buffer starts here. You're gonna. I mean, I don't know how long the slope would be, but
so that's the number we use on our application reviews. And it was taken. I can't remember where it was taken from, but it's taken directly out of something.
sure, but it
Yeah.
doesn't make
But
it
it's
any better.
finished. It's finished grades. It's not like we have a less of a slope required, obviously, for driveways, you know, all that kind of stuff, but finished grades for a developed site.
But I mean, if that grade is right next to where you've got the water course, even the 25-foot buffer, that's pretty steep.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
Yeah, and I think, oh, I'm sorry.
I was
There's
just
a few locations where it's actually steeper than that on the plans right now.
it
That's
goes up to
worse.
20% in some areas, and there's a road that goes up, like their access road goes up that 20% grade,
They have
which
an
I think
access-
is, that there's an access
To
road that
get
goes up.
around to the panels
So yeah, so there's an access road from the bottom of like Wilson that goes up.
And if we had jurisdiction
Mhm.
and had to approve the plans, we would never allow that. There's a 12% maximum
Yeah, and
for any driveways.
they wouldn't be able to get up today.
Yeah,
They would never, no chance. I mean, most of the fire trucks don't even want to go up anything more than 15.
right.
So, you know,
Right. So that's going to be, you know, it's a good point. Emergency access from either side, from either Litchfield or Torrington.
That 15% should be knocked down. But well, especially if it's next to it, you know,
Right.
water course.
Yeah, so that's what we use in our review standard for when it's 15% for slopes near wetlands or water courses, and it's 12% for any kind of, at maximum for any kind of driveway grades.
Yeah.
Can I lay out something for you?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I just wanted to like kind of set the stage just with like the stormwater issue. There's 51,000 solar panels going on this site. They're like 5 foot by 3 feet. So just kind of doing the calculations, I think if my math is correct, that's over 960,000 square feet of impervious surfaces that are going on this site. So my concern, like if you laid it like, you know, if you laid them edge to edge, I think I could be totally wrong, but I think that comes out to like 22 acres of impervious surface that it's going to be on this 200-acre parcel. Add in the slopes, add in the, you know, that's a wet area as it is. Wetlands, vernal pools. What's the water runoff going to look like into the streams? I know that coming up Wilson Road, which is a gravel road, that road gets washed out all the time when we have a heavy rain.
Yep.
So if you add in all of the earthwork that's going to happen on this site, and it's not going to have a good, for the next few years, it's not going to have a good, you know, vegetation base to hold that soil in. I'm really concerned about a lot of sedimentation of those streams and wetlands up there.
Yeah.
And I think that should be one of the major concerns.
Right.
With
So
the
the
site.
one thing I can say is typically we don't we don't usually consider ground mounted solar, even if it's just a single panel in someone's yard
They do now.
to be
I think-
impervious.
I think Connecticut.
Yeah.
I think Connecticut
Because
does.
you can't get, rainwater underneath and to perk in the ground.
I think so just to kind of push that back, I think I want to say I think Connecticut now for their stormwater plans, I think they have to classify them as impervious surfaces, just because of the way the water actually flows off of them. And issues
because it sheet flows. I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's I just wanted to lay that out.
All right.
Well, the clause of protected species, I think if you just reading the clause as written should be shocking.
I didn't agree with any of that.
Just they could go elsewhere. I guess every protected species could go elsewhere. Well, that's not protecting any species at all. And I think you should really read this. And somebody was paid to give a favorable report.
And my point was, haying schedule is not the excuse. It's almost like the haying schedule was made the excuse. Yeah. Well, no, you don't say go elsewhere. You say change the haying schedule because they're endangered and threatened species.
Yeah, but if you dig deeper, environmentalists commented on this report. They said you can't go in the middle of winter and expect to see the salamander and the turtle and say we didn't see anything. And that's the kind of report that they reported back. And I think they should be laughed right off, out of business. So a lot of concerns with that aspect of this report. Just the steepness of slope, because it's, they're recommending, removing topsoil, compacting it, and the steepness slope, you are going to get runoff. Just in general, yes, they're looking to capture it, but we do have downstream wells in that part of Litchfield, which, you're weighing in on Torrington matter. I think we should be looking at every nearby resident, and the downstream to Litchfield residents is concerning. Also, I want you to take a look at what happens after significant rainfall down off 202, that the water is right up to the bridge in some parts. And so if we aggravate the water runoff, it should be also of concern in that respect.
Are you specifically talking about like the lumber company area?
So if you go to Hart's Lumber and just on a normal day, the water looks awfully close to the bridge. And if you go to the driving range in different parts of the year, you go in the springtime and your golf balls are splashing down.
You're hitting them into the marsh. Exactly.
A lot of concerns there to aggravating more water runoff from this part of the area that already has a water runoff. Also, the environmentalist points out how the whole area is structured in terms of water and how they're looking at it as a bowl. So you do have to be careful in how you manage the larger region.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it true also that Litchfield, I believe, sent a comment letter to the siting council at some point?
They did I think that was through their board of selectmen.
Okay.
Yep.
Were there any, I don't know if maybe you did provide.
I think it was a generic letter of support. Okay. It was pretty generic.
So they didn't identify any concerns specifically?
No.
There were, sorry, I don't mean to keep jumping in.
No, go ahead.
There were, their Conservation Commission did send in comments to the siting council early on and then I think the letter you're talking about was the one that came in 2017, maybe.
Yeah,
which was
just
the
a
letter
generic
of support.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think about 6-8 months ago, before the comment period was up, I think it was the Conservation Commission did provide comments for some of their concerns.
I just might have missed that going through all the technical reports.
Yeah. I think it's, I have it if you would want.
Is it on the?
It is on the siting council website.
Yeah, I'd be curious to taking a look at that to see if there's any concerns that they have. That
I did see the one from there. Yeah. Okay. I will,
Sure.
go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, it was me, it was me.
Hi, Christy,
Oh, was it?
how are you?
Okay.
I also want to point out, the other concern is that other similar projects that were proposed in 2016 were shut down because of fire concerns that they couldn't access the big sea of solar panels in case of an electrical fire. So it was about access and managing a fire of that magnitude. So I think it was Killingly that it was basically the fire marshal shot it down.
Okay.
In terms of that. So you were right on that front. But there were a lot of similar projects proposed in 2016 that were all negated for different reasons. I think this is one of two remaining that are still ongoing. Other states changed their rules that they would not allow a development like this, that in Massachusetts went to a dual usage. You can't just assume farmland for this usage. So they came up with a hybrid example of you still farm on it, but with solar panels on different parts of the field that could still use the land for farming.
It's a good segue because that's the next bullet.
Can I ask a question, Jeremy?
Yep.
Can you just define like
I'm sorry.
what they, oh, thanks. So what they mean in section 5 regarding the ecological sink? Can we define that?
So that was the REMA environmental report, REMA ecological services.
Yep.
I think the heading of it is wetlands and water course or something to that effect on the documents that are on the record.
But I'm just wondering specifically about this that there's an ecological sink.
Well, I think the point they were trying to make is because of the current haying use, that
Yep.
it wasn't a valuable piece of land for any of these record NDDB species. And
Okay.
that's my point was, well, then change the haying schedule.
Got it. Okay.
Instead of just saying go somewhere else.
Right. This will be wonderful for them. Okay.
Yeah. And it's really, to be honest, only a matter of delaying your first cut like a month, if that. So.
All right. Thank you.
For, people that do this stuff want to maximize their hay value, so they don't want to do that.
Got it.
And just a note on their NDDB determination letter, they just submitted for that last month and have not received their determination letter from the state yet.
Yeah, all they got was the record of what's there.
Yeah. So the state hasn't made their determination as to what should be done on the site.
Yeah, and that will.
I don't know if that should be noted.
No, I know. Well,
Okay.
I was only commenting to what REMA said in theirs, and based on those those records.
Okay.
So yeah, there hasn't been another report from the other side from deep.
Okay. Sounds like we can go to section 7.
All right, agricultural lands and soils. Areas of prime farmland soils and statewide important farmland soils have been identified on the property from the Connecticut Environmental Conditions Online mapping site and in reports submitted for the record. The project proposes to convert approximately 29 acres of important farmland soils out of productive use. The Connecticut Department of Agriculture could not support the project due to the proposed loss of prime farmland soils, and our commission echoes these concerns. However, proposed in the plans is the use of sheep and other grazing livestock and other regenerative agriculture methods to aid in control of overgrowth around the site once constructed. If the project is constructed, the commission endorses this agricultural activity to offset part of the loss of agricultural soil productivity. The commission also endorses other offsets suggested by the Department of Agriculture, such as dedicated conservation easements to preserve additional land outside the project area in perpetuity. The commission encourages construction and maintenance methods that will allow for a return to viable agriculture use should the project be abandoned in the future. Number 8 is environmental history. A phase 1 assessment is recommended by the commission to provide a history of any environmental contamination on the property. A phase 1 report was conducted and dated April 2nd, 2020 as part of the application documents by HDR Inc., Boston, Mass. The report states that there are no historical records or present use that would result in adverse environmental contamination. There's no development proposed in any FEMA. I don't know why I stuck that in there. No development proposed in any mapped FEMA flood zones. I don't really think that fit there, but well, it's there. Outdoor recreation, number 9. A portion of the property to be developed abuts a 14-acre parcel of city-owned dedicated open space that is currently being evaluated for passive recreational use. All measures should be taken to screen and buffer any areas to be developed to preserve the character and views of the open space property. And I guess I'll just do the summary. It's a short summary at the end. The Conservation Commission is generally supportive of development of all forms of alternative energy that did not involve the use of fossil fuels. We find this project to be a worthy alternative energy project if it provides a direct benefit to the residents of the city of Torrington. In summary, the Torrington Conservation Commission is supportive of the project if all of the concerns above are addressed and regular monitoring is performed during the development of the project. And that's the end of it.
Okay. Were there any other comments on the last 3 sections? I'm going to mute myself because of my dog.
Okay.
Where do I begin, right?
What's that? Yeah.
Where do I begin?
So just because I've been looking at everything and reading everything for the past few months, in terms of agricultural land use and the use of regenerative agriculture, in my research, I found a paper from the Council on Environmental Quality from Connecticut, talking about specifically regenerative agricultural practices and how it should be classified more as sustainable landscaping rather than farming. It's not a suitable substitute for farming, because the viability of bringing in sheep to chew the hay, to take down the vegetation isn't necessarily guaranteed for the length of the project. So I just wanted to put that out there for that paragraph. And then I don't know if this would fall under outdoor recreation, but the original proposal for this project before that allowed it to move forward with siting council included approximately a 53-acre outdoor recreational park for the residents of Litchfield and Torrington that they had planned in there. That was removed. I'm sure it was due to land constraints and everything, but that was originally in there and would fall in line with the easement, the recommendations for putting easements in the property to keep open space.
Is that, if that's still part of the record or if it was never added?
Part of the record?
Yeah, that's on the website.
So before it went to siting council, there were proposals submitted through, I think it was through DEEP. I think it was 25 projects were selected to move forward to submit petitions to the siting council. I have the original proposal if you want to look at it, but it was their original.
Would you be able to scan it and send it to me?
I can email. Yeah,
or email it if it's.
I have it right here too. If you want a copy of it, but I have.
I just can't make a copy right now.
No, I can email it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was the original proposal. The original. I forget how many proposals came in, but they selected, I think, down selected 25 that could then move forward and submit their petition to siting council for final approval. And it was weighted based on several different factors. And once it got through like the first round of cuts, then then it evaluated more, I think, benefits to the community. So this was put in there as a potential benefit to the community.
Okay.
But then
Yeah, I
was
didn't see that on the
removed.
website. So if I could read it.
It's
it'd be
not on
great.
the siting
Yeah.
council website.
Yeah, okay.
It's in the original deep
All right. Okay.
proposal, which I'll send
Great.
to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jeremy, when they were here last time, when the applicant was here, they mentioned that they were going to donate, they were thinking about donating, I don't know how they phrased it, a parcel to the city for open space.
Yeah, I think it was 7.5 acres.
Shouldn't that be mentioned in here as
So I didn't want to mention it in here because it's a negotiation between them and the town. I don't think I should be mentioning that. Probably shouldn't even be mentioning it here, but yeah.
well, yeah, well,
Because it's a land negotiation.
Could
So
we make it kind of a general statement, whereas we
that's what I
encourage?
tried to, that's kind of what I tried to do.
yeah, I'm not sure why you
Yeah.
can't make the statement. I mean, it's in the public record that they made the.
Yeah, I guess it was the applicant, it was last month, right?
Yeah, it was in part
It
of
was
the
the-
public record.
Yeah,
So I mean,
that's
it's not
true.
like it's a big.
Right, so we can't, I mean, if we get into actually serious negotiations, that's got to stay kind of, out of,
If they're going to
Right.
donate it, why is it? The city certainly is not going to pay for it.
no,
I don't see why you can't say, hey.
Right.
We've received indications that they're willing to donate, and we encourage them to do that.
yeah, that's true. It was already part of the meeting last
Or
month.
just even
I
a
mean,
simple,
Yeah,
even a simple statement that, we encourage or.
okay,
Yeah, we encourage it, that there were negotiations with the city to do this. And we think, hey, we encourage that process to move along.
okay. I can add that.
I just want to note that these are farmlands of the first settled areas of Torrington in the mid 1700s.
Mhm.
So they've been agricultural lands for a very long time. And to change that use, I think should be concerning, especially your own Conservation Commission had identified these parcels as one of just a handful in our town remaining that should be identified for conservation. The other aspect, I don't think we directly addressed it, but there were some plans to cut down some forest areas in here to expand the footprint of the solar panels. I knew they were going back and forth on those ideas, but it seems contrary to what you're trying to accomplish with the solar panels to preserve the environment by cutting down the trees,
Mhm.
plowing the lands, and pushing off the protected species. It seems contrary to the efforts of accomplishing your climate change goals with the solar panels. In terms of outdoor recreation and environmental, if you can look at the Bishop Donnelly site on the east end of town, I don't think that's very appealing. It has a chain link fence surrounding that parcel with dead trees that were planted. They were planted dead, but they're basically have been dead for 2 years now. So it is unappealing. What the parcel that was used for soccer fields, baseball, is no longer a farming field. It's no longer a soccer field.
Mhm.
So we're basically prohibiting the use of these lands for future farming, future environmental uses, and protected species. So, and your last clause that you haven't, your summary to directly benefit Torrington residents, I don't believe it would directly affect it if the power line usage is going to basically be wholesaled off.
Yeah.
So it's, you say, well, everyone that uses
And
electricity.
I know that, but yeah.
Will
wanna
be
see-
benefiting it.
Even if it's not electricity, I want to see some direct benefit to the city of Torrington.
Yes.
If we're going to be supportive of it.
So back to my earlier comments about it was proposed in 2016. If this was proposed in 2017, they could not have proposed this project because rule changes can get made. Would not be possible to put this project together, and for good reason, that this is fraught with issues that they're bending into pretzels to get this through. So I think that should be of concern that, you know, because they proposed it and then there's a rule change that we're forced to face these issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jeremy, for those who have commented, are you incorporating any of that information into?
Yes. Yeah. So I think we'll have to hold this over for till at least the next meeting so I can get these corrections done.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously we can't, there's too much written down for us to just
right
do an amended document tonight.
Okay.
And there's some things we need to look into as well.
Yeah, I have those notes too. Yep. Okay. Yeah, but I also have actual changes to add. So what I can do is hopefully get these done over the next week or so. These are the corrections anyway that we spoke about tonight, and resend out another draft for everyone to look at, and we'll pick it back up for the January meeting.
Okay.
Okay. That sound right? Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we are moving on or are we moving on?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, I guess that we're not going to be able to take any action on the next agenda item tonight. So I think we're set with our discussion for tonight.
Okay.
On this, yeah. Unless anybody,
I just have
just before
question.
We jump on, yeah.
Because it seems like there's a lot of serious concerns about this solar project, and I'm kind of confused why our Conservation Commission is supportive of this project. Seems to me that there's plenty of reasons to not support it.
Because I think the point is, if a project is developed properly, we should be supportive of alternative energy.
Okay.
The whole question is it being developed properly? I mean, so we have to answer all those questions to be satisfied that it's actually being developed in a beneficial way.
Just thinking of the endangered species or the grade, it seems that those would necessarily prohibit any responsible development. That seems impossible to be done in a way that's responsible.
Right. Right. So that may answer our question. I mean, in the end, but you know, for draft purposes for us, you know, they have other steps to go through with deep and everything else. And I don't know if corrections will come up, like NDDB recommendations still have to come in. Maybe that drastically changes the plans. Who knows? I mean, we just don't know until it's final. But yeah, that's kind of why I left it like that, because we may see changes through the stormwater permitting or, you know, something else along the way. They would have to be, you know, fairly drastic changes, but.
Okay.
And I think negotiation with this company ultimately might be able to resolve some of our concerns as well. So I think approaching it in somewhat of a welcoming way can help us in that tactic as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as I said, easements, donations of open space, you know, may not completely alleviate our concerns, but may at least protect some of the land. So that's something I think we ought to keep on the table at the very least. You know, we don't know how it's going to shake out after NDDB reviews and stormwater permits and everything else. So
Can I have one more comment?
yeah, right. You okay with that?
Sorry.
More comments? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I just lost my train of thought.
Oh.
Sorry. I don't know if one section, and I don't know if this is like this structure is set or if there's another section you can add in. And I don't know if you're concerned about it. I'm concerned about any decommissioning plans, but I'm not sure if that falls within the purview of the Conservation Commission. But it certainly would be impactful to the environment if.
I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if, you know, you have 51,000 solar panels that need to be, something needs to happen with, right? And if, you know, what are the protections that the state is taking in order to make sure that the bonding is appropriate so that they can't just walk away and leave Torrington and Litchfield with the mess to clean up.
Yeah.
So I think that's something.
I know that's a requirement. I just don't know what the amounts are
for the bonding. So the reason I bring up the bonding is because I think with the Candlewood Lake project, the state didn't require a bond until 18 and a half years into the project, which at that point, it's like, you know, the property is owned by an LLC. Just what are the legal ramifications of that? Can they just fold up, walk away and leave these two towns with the mess to clean up? I think it's something that it should be looked into. I don't know what the what Deep or whoever's going to hold the bond, what they would what they're doing to ensure that.
I don't know why in the world you'd ever issue construction permits or issue go-aheads for construction without bonding in place first, but because I know it was
for the decommissioning bond.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because they knew the project was going to be a 20-year project that it wasn't due until 18 and a half years into the project.
Yeah. But there's no leverage there. I don't get why they do it that way. It's supposed to be about leverage bonding.
Right. So I don't know if things have changed or if that's the same in every situation, but I think it is something to be concerned about. So
thank you.
Thank you both.
I just want to just thank you for taking a look at this matter. Just makes me feel good, even the dialogue. So thank you again for just reviewing this.
And I just have to apologize for making it take so long. Sorry.
No, we appreciate it. I know it's hard. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So I have some work to do before the next meeting, but I think that's good for now.
Okay. So we are moving on to old business.
Yes.
Continued discussion of food forests, possible project locations and funding.
So I was going to suggest, I don't know how busy we're going to be in January now, but I was going to suggest that we have Cynthia and was his name Bob?
Yes.
I think we ended last meeting kind of with this. If they're amenable to coming in live, I think their expertise would be invaluable for funding for funding sources and some assistance on potential grants and I think that's really all I had today. But if you wouldn't mind reaching out, maybe we can get them together for I don't know about January, maybe February. We can shoot for the February meeting.
January.
Because I think we're going to be back to discussing this again, and it may take up a good. I want to be able to concentrate on that.
Okay.
And I think this might take up a little time in January.
Is there any reason we can't start looking for?
Absolutely. Yeah. I just think we ought to have a discussion at a meeting too.
Right.
But no,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody else is in agreement,
In agreement. I mean, I would say, let me make sure I'm not muted. Okay. I would say that whatever we can get done as soon as possible. Like, I don't think we should stall anything at all. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, even if there's substantial progress made, we'll discuss that in February. That'd be great.
Okay. I hope so.
I'm glad you're so interested in this topic.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I am. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Our city open space plan progress, funding and development.
We're basically in the same boat with that. We have to finish our property reviews, but again, that doesn't really preclude us from working on an open space plan, but we need to look into funding for a consultant to help us work through that.
Did you apply for a grant on that, Jeremy?
I did not on that.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
No, and that's going to likely be probably a planning grant.
Okay,
But I haven't seen any fund. I monitor sort of different funding boards, and I haven't seen anything come up that would fit with it.
Jeremy, what are you talking about in terms of money for that? What are you
Well,
guessing that?
I'm going to just really guess, but somewhere in the 20 to 30,000 range, probably. Because a full POCD, I know, ran me 55,000 a few years back. So,
yeah.
And this isn't going to be as involved as a full city POCD.
I feel like, have you looked into what the Torrington's plan of conservation and development cost? For some reason, I thought that was in the 100,000.
It could, I'll ask Marty, but so the one I did for a different community, it does make sense that it would be closer to that because I think I wound up writing 3 of the sections myself.
Okay.
So then the rest of the plan was done by the, just to try to save a little money. I actually wrote 3 of the sections and the consultant wrote the rest.
Yeah, I thought it was, I mean, I remember at the time, and it was at least a decade ago, I think, that I remember thinking that it was a pretty steep price for our plan of,
It was redone. It was actually redone shortly before I started. So
oh, really? Okay.
4 years ago, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll find out from Marty though.
Okay. All right. The Leone property acquisition progress update.
So since our last meeting, we went on a site walk over there because there was, I think where we left off, there was some concerns with the old farm dump areas that were still on the property, and they're actually pretty substantial. So we're still working through getting that cleaned up because that's actually supposed to be on the current property owner. There's at least three fairly sizable areas that were like old vehicles, old car parts, just like an old, the old farm dumps.
Right.
And they're all, I mean, they're within what would be our purchase area or our property area.
I remember those from previous site walks.
Yeah, and they're down almost where it closes off, so you can't walk the old trolley line anymore. They're way down there. But if we're in the same spot, yeah, they're all around there. There's an old Volkswagen Beetle. There's a tipped over dump truck, and it's all parts and just garbage. I mean,
Did we ever receive or require a phase 1 report on that?
We did, and they actually mentioned those in the phase 1. So we actually had, the current property owner is supposed to do the cleanup, but I don't think we got the scope of it. We had seen it before, but we hadn't really walked. I think at the time we walked last time, it was all full. It was in the summer, so it was like full leaf cover and everything. We made sure to get out there, leaf off, and we could see a lot more. So it's definitely more than we thought was there, but from what I hear, the current property owner is looking to take care of it. So hopefully it keeps moving in the right direction. So it's not a small cleanup. So we'll see what happens.
All right, our open space parcel inventory and data collection progress.
No, that's where it always is, right? It's
well, we are crawling.
Yes, we are.
With it. Okay.
So we do have. So I think I mentioned that we did like 4 smaller parcels.
Yeah.
With our intern. Well, there is like 2 larger parcels around the same area off of Greenwoods Road that we should maybe think about getting together to do before the snow cover gets too bad.
Okay.
We could at least knock a couple more out before we get buried again for the winter.
Yeah, I'm game, and I
Okay.
have a flexible schedule. So.
And it shouldn't take too long because they're larger parcels, but they're not huge. So we can walk in and do almost similar to what we did at Cedar Lane. Probably take a half hour each, just to take a look around and so whatever. Why don't I send out something over email and we'll see if we can work out a time.
Most people are needing weekends, or what? Where are we at with that?
Weekends would work best for me, just between school and everything else.
It's fine with me. Do a Saturday morning or something.
Okay,
So I'll send maybe a poll out with a, you know, one of those scheduling polls
yep,
and see what everybody has.
okay. All right, the trail grant and city trails greenway development update.
I haven't heard anything back. I think I said this it could be months. So I'll let everybody know I just want to keep it on the agenda, but I'll let everybody know as soon as something comes back. Again, I don't know I think we're positioned well to get something. I just don't know that we're going to get the whole amount we asked for.
Okay.
So, you know, like I said, if we have to take the bridge out, I mean, not take the bridge out, but take the money for the bridge out of this one, we can apply next year because that's kind of a big chunk. If we could just get the rest of the trail built and developed, we could take that $140
Okay. Yeah,
some odd $1,000 out of the grant. If it positions us better to get the rest.
Yeah.
If we get the whole thing, fantastic. But that would be like 1/6 of all the money the state's awarding statewide. So I have a feeling we're not going to get.
Okay.
We're not going to get the whole amount, but you know, stranger things have happened. I'll let everyone know when I hear.
Okay. And then we have review of draft of annual Conservation Commission report to City Council.
So I sent that. I think last week. This is actually a specific item in state statute that we're required to do annually.
Yeah.
For the city. I don't even know where my copy is. Hang on a sec. Okay. So I wouldn't mind reading it in, but I like the first half of it is just like what the responsibilities of the commission are. So I could probably like by state statute. So I could probably skip that whole section.
Yeah.
All right. I'll read the header and then just skip through those other ones. Mayor Carbone and city council members, the governing state statute for creation of municipal conservation commissions, CGS section 7-131 states that the commission shall make an annual report to the municipality on the activities of the commission. This commission respectfully submits this report as a summary of the activities conducted by the Torrington Conservation Commission in calendar year 2021. And then the first heading says the state statutes list required duties and optional duties governing municipal conservation commissions. And then there's a shall and a whole list of things, and then a list of permitted but not required things. So then the rest of it says, with these required and optional duties in mind, the Torrington Conservation Commission engaged in the following activities in calendar year 2021. The commission continued to conduct inventory and field inspections of approximately 60 city-owned open space parcels. The commission intends to continue these inspections in 2022 and utilize information gathered in these property surveys to assess property conditions and distinguish between high-value conservation property and those that may be used for other recreational purposes, parks, playgrounds, community gardens, etc. B, make preliminary assessments of properties for potential ecological, biological value for future management decisions, including further review by qualified professionals. C, gather preliminary data for possible use in future city open space plan to expand on information included in the current city plan of conservation and development. D, document and discuss enforcement options for property encroachments by abutting property owners into city open space parcels. Number two, city staff and commissioners also reviewed conservation-related bills before the Connecticut legislature and discussed, when appropriate, at meetings for potential comment directly from the commission or through professional organizations representing municipal conservation commissions. Number three, staff and commissioners discussed and reviewed information for recommendations on acquisition of privately owned parcels for protected open space. Specific to 2021 was the acquisition of the Leone property on Winstead Road, Machuga Road. Number four, event coordination and outreach with residents at city cleanup events, including the Earth Day cleanup event in April and the city Clean Up the World Day event in September. The spring 2021 event drew approximately 80 to 90 volunteers and the fall event around 30. Number 5, property walks and discussion for development of food forest community gardens for the use of city residents. Number 6, conducted meetings and discussions with both the developers, Silicon Ranch, and abutting property owners for the proposed solar project off Highland Avenue and Rossi Road for conservation concerns and possible open space donation. For calendar year 2022, the Conservation Commission will, 1, continue with and possibly complete open space parcel reviews. I put possibly. 2, continue communication with Corporation Council on open space encroachment issues. Number 3, monitor for grant funding sources to develop a full city open space plan. Number 4, continue to organize, coordinate, and promote spring and fall citywide cleanup events for Earth Day in April and Clean Up the World Day in September. Number 5, begin review and cataloging of city conservation easements on private property. Number 6, review development applications to other boards and commissions as needed involving open space or other conservation issues. Number 7, continue communications with private landowners for new open space parcel acquisitions. And Dan will love this one. Number 8, coordinate with outside groups, Torrington Trails Network, Heritage Land Trust, etc., on projects as needed.
Okay.
That's what we should have on here as well. All businesses get together with the Trails Network and the Land Trust and the Conservation District, the joint meeting.
Okay. Want to shoot for February?
February's fine with me.
We can talk about food forests and have a joint meeting with.
Yeah, if you can get Cynthia here and Land Trust here and the Trails Network here. Yeah.
So you can coordinate with Heritage and I'll contact the Trails folks.
Yeah, you can contact the Trails folks.
I don't know the. Oh wait, I do know the date because we have the meeting calendar in the.
Yes.
So that would be February 10th.
So February 10th.
Yeah. And then for us, it'd be January 20th.
Okay.
For the next meeting.
I'll contact the Land Trust.
For our pickup discussion with the solar project to be January 20th.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So is there anybody have anything for me to add, subtract, flesh out on the?
Do we know how many of the parcel reviews are complete?
I can count through them because we have all the data sheets.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
I feel like we should hold ourselves accountable to this thing that's been going on for at least
since I've been here and before.
I mean, since Kim was there, we started working on it.
Do you want me to summarize what we've done to date or just for this year? Or do you want me to add what we've just done this year?
Where we are, I'd like to know overall where we are to date. And then what we did this year.
Okay, I'll add those.
Okay.
I'll write it in here. And I'll add that as like bullet number 13 or not, no, wait.
And I also think, that as I'm wondering whether I've complained about this before, but our loss of funding from the city.
Oh yeah, right.
I would like to add that as one of the things that we will do is to continue to push to receive our funding back.
Mm-hmm. That's for the will column for 2022.
Yeah, I think it should probably be on every one of them, but
okay.
So until we get it.
I guess one thing that I didn't put on there was we did have a discussion with the property owner at that Collin Drive parcel, the one with that, the pool and everything else on the open space. He is interested in buying the parcel.
Okay.
So what I obviously recommended in the conversation was whatever the purchase price is, whether it gets split between him and his neighbor, or because I think we decided as a commission that it's a low value piece of open space. So whatever that purchase cost is, will go back into our open space account.
Okay.
Once it's done, so we can use that for a better piece of open space down the line.
I just think, I mean, it irks me to no end that we would be held to the budget convention that what we have, when you're trying to save for land acquisition, that what we have in our fund has to be used every year. Like there was how that ever made sense to the mayor and Rista, I have no idea, but it irks me to no end. And I'm irked that I wasn't consulted when the mayor said, what is this? What is this fund for that you're not using?
And that was, so that was before my time, right? So
before your time, but I'm still seething.
Something.
Because we used to go and beg at finance committee meetings, and we used to beg to get on a line, have a line item for open space acquisition, and then when we got it, we lost it due to a miscommunication. So
the one we do have now is a capital account. So when we actually get, say, we approve a new subdivision, and they do fee in lieu instead of dedicating open space, which sometimes we'd rather see, that goes now into our open space capital account, so it doesn't get rated because it's specifically for open space.
But I thought that line item was for the capital account as well. No,
I think the way you're describing it was an old budget line that changed, that gets zeroed out year to year, because the capital.
I believe, it went into our bank account that was to acquire open space.
Yeah.
So, but it was a budget line item. And the way that it came about was that it had originally gone to Parks and Rec.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's different.
Well, what happened was a tree fell on an open space parcel, fell and on a budding landowner's yard. And the city needed to take that tree down. And they used our open space fund to do it. And so Kim made an argument that, well, if you're going to use our savings for open space to take care of things like trees and stuff, there's a line item in Park and Rec that we should be getting, not Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And the mayor agreed. I think that was Ryan Bingham. Yep. Agreed. And we ended up being able to accrue money. It wasn't a lot. It was like $5,000 a year. $5,000-6,000 a year was not very much money, but it was an accrual of some money that the point was to save so that we had an ability to have some, have an account if a acquisition opportunity came up.
Yeah. I do know the way it's set up now. It's a year-to-year capital account. We basically emptied it out. Well, not yet.
We will empty it. Yes,
for the purchase of the Rossi Road. Jeez, I'm getting everything confused now.
The Leone property.
Yeah, the Leone property.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm aware. So I think before that we were getting like some portion of conveyance tax or something. What's our, we would get some percentage of. I'm not
sure. It doesn't sound familiar. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but it ended up not really being anything. It was like nothing.
Well, I'll look into that. I'll look into the history on that anyway. See what went on with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
I do not have anything else. So we're okay with submitting it with those two corrections?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will make those corrections and submit it to the mayor's office.
Okay. And then next would be adjournment.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion
We
carries.
got, I'm looking at 7:49. 7:44. 7:54.
Close to these long
Thank you.
meetings.